So why does it matter if you choose scholarly or peer-reviewed materials in your review of literature? Well, it matters because when we want to build a foundation for the research that we're going to do, we want to make sure that that foundation is strong and that it's built on reliable material. And that's just like if you're building a house. You want to make sure that you're using good material in the foundation so that the rest of the structure doesn't fall apart. So it's the same way when we're writing a research paper or doing research. Now let's get away from calling it writing a research paper. Let's call it doing research and reporting research. So when you're doing research, you have your topic, and then you need to know how you're going to do your research and why you're going to do your research. So you've got to build that foundation for why the research should be done. And that's where the scholarly and peer-reviewed materials come into play, because you want that to be a good, strong foundation. Now, we could go to Google and we could type in a search string. I'm going to do, this is just one that plugging in, and we're going to see, gotta go, there we go. Okay, now you'll notice that up here in the first hit, this is just on regular Google, we get scholarly articles. So what's that? If you click on that link right here, it's going to take you to Google Scholar. All right, now you said, but there's all of these hits here. There's 142,000 results just on Google. Now, as we look, though, we see Pinterest. We see behavior management paper, but I'm not sure what it is. Designing your gym class. So a lot of what you're going to find are blog posts, are put up there by university faculty, staff, coaches, and those kind of things that, yes, they possibly have expertise in those fields. Perhaps they're sharing research that they've conducted themselves, but you don't know that for sure. So in order to assure that we're using resources that are scholarly and or peer-reviewed, we try to stick with databases that provide strictly scholarly materials. Now, in this module, you'll see me talk to you about how I use Google Scholar. So if I don't always go to Google Scholar that way, but if we go to Google Scholar, now we have 3,800 results that we can look at based on this search string that I entered. And you'll notice I put physical education in parentheses, or excuse me, not in parentheses, in quotes, because I want to look at physical education as a group, not physical as a word and education as a word. I want it to search for physical education. And also within the search, it needs to have behavior management. So I also put that in quotes. And I use the uppercase "and" as the connector. It's the Boolean connector that says, when you go search Google Scholar, I want you to look for things that have both physical education and behavior management, either in the title or in the body, that's somewhere within that publication. So I brought all this back. You can peruse this. You don't always get full text from Google Scholar. Sometimes you do, but not always. You can look at case law, whatever, etc. You can filter by time. So if you want to keep your date within 10 years or whatever, like I spoke about the other night, you can. All right. If you want to, this has patents. We don't want to include patents necessarily. but maybe we want to see things that are just citations and that don't have articles with them, because we may be able to find that article through the library. So we've got different possibilities here. Okay. So that's Google Scholar. These are the scholarly materials that Google has compiled. One thing I want you to note right here, when we're looking at Google Scholar, it says cited by how many people. Okay. So when I look here, this article has been cited by 622 people. It's a pretty popular article. So I might look a little closer at that. And if I see, well, it's not exactly probably, I need to look at it a little closer, but just scanning right now, I don't know if it'll be relevant to my topic. So I'll keep looking, and I always try to look at, even though some that haven't been cited very often are very good, because maybe they're new, or they're just about topics that people don't do research on very often, so those are interesting to look at as well. So don't discount anything just because it hasn't been cited very often. All right. So again, we're building our foundation of literature. Another thing, as we're doing searches, you may have to change and revise your search string. Okay? We're going to change behavior management to classroom management. Whoops, I already got management there. And I spelled classroom wrong. Okay. And look, we got different hits this time because we use classroom management instead of behavior management. They're really kind of the same thing, but it just has to do with words that are used, keywords and words that are used within the articles we're looking for. And sometimes as you're developing your search string, you might have to back up from your topic just a little bit, broaden out your topic just a little to find relevant articles. And then again, within those articles, you might look at the references. It escaped me there for a moment. To get other articles to look at, like this. It might be interesting. Classroom management problems, strategies and influence in physical education. When I click on that, it takes me to a reference page where I can find that. I can read the abstract, and it says over here, oh, I can get full text. So let's click on that. Oh, but I have to sign in. So you need an account. Well, maybe not. This is where the library comes in, all right? The library also has a search a lot like Google Scholar. What the library, Axe Libraries search does is it looks through all the databases, and let me show you the databases. These are the A databases. These are all the databases that the library has access to. Okay? That's just the A's. We go all the way from A to Z. So you can look by name and see what they're about. They're also organized in here by discipline. You can do it that way. Look at the journals by title. All right? But what I want to do is treat it like Google. And I know I've talked about this a little bit earlier, but we're going a little longer, a little more in-depth. Okay? And we're going to do the behavior management and physical education again. And in capitals. When you're doing a Boolean search, the and or not should be in capitals. Okay. So we get results that these are within our library. Now there's a box up here we can click that says add results that are beyond my library's collection. So we're going to go look out in the greater expanse here. All right. And we've come back with 7,875 results. Okay, now This is going to bring back hits that are books, that are magazines, newspapers, periodicals, journals. We're going to have that whole gamut. Videos. What we want to do, though, is make sure that we're using scholarly materials. And really that we're looking for things that are full text. So, full text right here. And while it's thinking, I'm talking about, this full text online means that when I access the document from the link I'm given, I'm going to get the whole article. Not just what I got back here, the abstract, and now you have to log in and pay for the article. No, you're going to get access to that article. And I'm already logged in. When you go from your search into, it says up here, it says off campus, log in to access full text and more content. So you'll be directed to log in so that it knows you're a student and can give you the content that you're looking for. All right. So, and I thought I already was. Let's go ahead and do it again. Yes, here I go. It's not going to make me type it. It'll ask for your ID number and your GUS PIN. That's what you'll use to log in. So now, this is all full text. I filtered by full text. I can also filter by scholarly and peer review. Now, scholarly sticks to journals, not trade publications. Things like Better Homes and Gardens, Time, Newsweek. Those are trade publications. Usually strays away from newspaper articles as well. All right. Instead, it looks at the Journal of Educational Research, all the different kinds of journals there are. Peer review, because I want both, scholarly and be peer reviewed. Peer reviewed means that before the article is published, it's sent to blindly. It's sent to usually 3 different people who have no affiliation with the author. They read the article, make comments, suggestions, and determine whether it has the merit to be published or not. I am a reviewer for a journal, and I have actually rejected an article before. Mainly because of its timeliness. It was really interesting, but it was used really old data. So, almost 10-year-old data. Okay, that's not doing me any good now. So, peer-reviewed is a way to assure the quality of the research that's been conducted. All right. You can even come down here and you can give a date range for publication. If you want. If you just want to do journal articles, which I think we will, you don't have to. Book chapters are always good too. So I can do journal articles, and I'll click on, when it comes up, book chapters. And there we go. Okay. So now I'm down to 763 results. Running from over 7,000 to 763. Okay? Now we can go through and look and decide which ones we might want to use for our review of literature, and actually even for our annotated bibliography. And know that as you're doing your annotated bibliography, the 10 articles that you find, or book chapters, whatever you use for your annotated bibliography, they're not the only resources you can use, and they might not be all the resources you use. So you have 10, but maybe one of them, after you really get into putting your design together, you realize, wait a minute, that article doesn't really go with what I'm doing. So I'm not going to use that one. I need to find another one. Or these are all great, but I need one more thing that talks about this topic. So you find another, all right? So the minimum is going to be 10 resources. But you can have more than that. And just because you turn in 10 resources for your annotated bibliography doesn't mean you have to stick with those 10 They can change. All right, this is a starting point for us. All right. So I'm going to look at this right here. And you'll notice that as you hover over a resource in Summon, right here, it gives an overview. So it gives the abstract, and it gives the publishing information for the article. You can go to cite, you can choose a citation format, and it will say, like here, APA is what we're using, and it shows you what the citation would look like. You can export that into any of these if you're using them, or you can copy and paste it. You can email it to yourself, whatever. Okay. You can send this article to yourself, a link to the article to yourself by email, in case you can't look at it right now. So different ways to look at and save. But what I like is the read. Oh, I clicked read online. And now it's going to take me to, now we're waiting. And here's the article. And it's the whole article online. I can read it right here without a problem. All right. So and we're just going to look at this right here within the browser. Let's see if I can make, oh, no, I apologize. Went to the wrong place. As you read, remember I gave you a hint, read the abstract, see if it fits what your topic is. If it does, okay, now read the introduction, which is probably going to be this first chapter, and then go down and read the results. We go down here, final considerations, see what they say. And say, okay, yeah, that's pretty good. Let's go through and read the rest, because there's modifications that were done, etc., etc., by this PE teacher. Now, as you're reading, you're going to highlight. It'll even read it to you if you want to. You're going to highlight. You're going to make notes. There's going to be things you're like, oh, that's good. I like that. I want to remember that. I'm going to tell you that when we get to the point where we start writing our review of literature, you want to use as few quotes, direct quotes as possible. So as you're reading, you go through and kind of paraphrase, summarize what you're reading. Instead of just underlining sentences that you like, you do that, definitely do that, but make a note to the side of here's what that's really saying. So that when you get ready to put your paper together, you're not just putting together a series of quotes. All right? So this article is in the Physical Educator from 2005. It's a peer-reviewed article. You're like, oh, and this looks like just like what I want. So read it, highlight it, and then add it to your annotated bibliography. So always remember, this time we're doing scholarly and peer-reviewed articles. Okay, you notice I downloaded the PDF. I'm opening it in Adobe Acrobat just because that's easy for me. It's what I like to use. And I can print it easily. I can highlight, make notes, this and that. Save this in a place where you put all your research literature for this course, for the research you're going to perform. And remember, when we start writing, I'm going to ask you to avoid direct quotations. So go through as you're reading and make notes that are your own thoughts about what you've read. It's because I want us to synthesize the information that we're reading, not just let Downing here, if you were going to use this, Downing, Keating, and Bennett, tell us what's going to go in our paper, but you're going to take the authority on yourself after reading all the literature. Now you're writing as an authority on the topic. And that's another reason we want to use a scholarly and peer-reviewed material to build our literature foundation, because if somebody else would read your research, you want to come across as an authority on what you're presenting to them. Now, you're not going to be an expert just from this one project, but you want to let the reader know that, hey, I've done my due diligence, and I've gone back and I've looked at what other people have done, and because of what other people have done and what I've read, and here's what other people have done, and here's the thoughts that I have, and why what I'm doing is important. So they'll say, yeah, that makes sense, and want to see the rest of your research. Okay? So that is the whole gist behind using scholarly and peer-reviewed materials while conducting research and doing your review of literature. So that's another reason that I've asked us to do that annotated bibliography, is so we can get a start on finding literature, and also for writing up a summary and taking key points out of the articles, so that we're not just using direct quotes here and there and everywhere within our final writing. So if you have questions about finding articles, or you have questions about search strings, or would this article or this resource, is this okay? Let me know. I'll be glad to help you in any way I can.